everyone. Thank you for joining the Fight for Her channel. I'm Jess.
I am Natasha.
And this is our Her Talks. So what a Her Talks is, we talk about life, fitness, mental health, all in one. And so today's Her Talk, actually, we are going to be talking about consistency and what gets in the way of that.
That part. Yeah.
All right, ladies. So for today's Her topic is consistency and what gets in the way of that. Now, if you like this topic or like all of our topics, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So consistency. Well, for me, I think staying in tune with my goals and setting my goals, because I could set the goals. It's just staying consistent with them.
Yeah.
And so what gets in the way with that for me, I would say I can't say I blame, but I sometimes do find excuses. So the excuses, because they're always there. Gets in the way, that because that thought gets in my head and I'm like, wait, no, I can't do it. And it's like, you can. And I even us, like with the conversations we've had.
Right.
And I'm just like, you're like, no, we can. This is the goal. I'm like, no, I know I can. But I'll tell myself, like, I got this and I got that. I have so many different things. I can't do this. But it's like, no, I can. It's again, finding that time, making that time, because you have the time. It's just really setting that goal. Because when you want a goal, I always say, when you want to set yourself a goal, even just setting yourself a goal, you're already like kind of like, all right, like this is what I want to do. You're determined, you're motivated in that second. So use that and remind yourself of that motivation. Because those thoughts,
listen,
those negative thoughts, they come.
And and I always talk to my clients all the time. Again, we are both psychotherapists, mental health licensed practitioners, and one thing that I often talk to my clients about are reason thoughts, right? And there's like different types of reason thoughts that will talk us out of doing the thing that we know we need to do to live the life that we want to live, because more than likely there is fear there, right? But the reason thought is very logical. It's like, but I can't do that because I gotta take my kids to X, Y, and Z, or I have so much on my plate that I don't have time for this, or somebody needs me for this, right? Or I don't have the resources for that. There might be an obstacle of some sort, whatever it is. So it's very logical. So that's why we can easily get offended if someone tries to say it's an excuse. Like, excuse? This is not an excuse. This is real. Like, this is my real life. When really, and the reason why you might find yourself getting offended is because now it's being put out there that that's forcing you to actually recognize the fear. So the reason thoughts help you avoid the fear. But when you're confronted about, this is really an excuse, you can really do that, then it's like, wait, but I don't want to do it because I'm scared.
And I think for me, a lot of it is fear. I mean, just even being transparent with just starting a company. I've never been an entrepreneur. So just taking that leap. And as we were getting closer, I mean, there's some thoughts like, why am I doing this? Like, what did I get myself into? No, I can't do it. I have no time. I work, I have my kids, I'm shuffling. So it's like, again, making those excuses. So it's like when I've spoken to you that, you're just like, no, we're in it. And also too, like, I'm like, wait, no, I'm in too deep. And I had a goal. Like I've been, I've spoken to you about wanting to do this for so long.
That's why I approached it, because she's been wanting to do her own workout for the longest. I'm like, well, great, this would be a great thing. And then we get into it. She's like, well, actually,
I just so much time. Like, I don't have time for myself. And it's just like, no, I do have time for myself, but like, again, making all those excuses of, of why I can't. And it's, again, bringing in that fear. It's like, but didn't you want to do it? And it was like, yeah, no, you're right. But again, it's that fear of taking that leap, starting a new business. I've never done that. It's scary.
No, very much so. I know for me, like I'll find some of the steps, right? And then it's like, no, you got to go all the way in. I think for me, my reason is always finding ways to not do all the steps. And it's like, well, why don't you just, and it's like, no, you got to do all the steps, because if you could try to, so perfect example, I just met with a coach, for speaking. So I want to do more speaking engagements, and I created a reel, did all the things. I did all on my own, super proud of it. She didn't knock it or anything. She was just like, it's too long. which it is. It was long, but I was like modeling off of somebody else's, like, which actually was really good. But I was just, and she's like, you really should get a videographer, and they can just do it all for you. And I'm thinking to myself, my excuses, but that costs money, and this was a free me. Free. You gotta have you have a quality video. Yeah. Not saying my video wasn't quality, but it could be better quality if I'm paying a professional. I'm not a professional in this. Yeah. I might be able to do the skill work. Doesn't mean I'm a professional in it, right? And so it's like, stop making an excuse of that where you want to out. Because if you want to go on a trip, you'll find money. That's me. I'm talking to myself. This is me saying to myself. If you want to go on a trip, girl, you'll find the money to go on a trip. Yep. So you need to find the money to invest in the business in that way. So I think it's so many different things, like you said, can just stop us from really following through on our goals.
Yeah. And again, I always I had a thought actually when you were talking about that, just money, sometimes like thinking about money, like, oh, I don't have the money for that. But again, if you, something that you really want, you'll find the money.
You'll magically appear.
Oh, you'll find the time. If you want to join something, you want to see something, join an event, you find time. So we find things we really like when we really want to do that. So that goal or that set, like making sure that, again, like that's what you really love to do. Is that something you want to do? Being consistent and all the steps that take you to do that. Again, taking shortcuts may not sometimes be the best way of achieving that goal, of staying consistent. And I think also too, like in regards to just like physical health, like I mean, this weather, I go to the gym in the morning. Sometimes the weather is like, it's snowing, it's like 20 degrees, and I'm like, I'd rather sleep in, but it's like, I got to remind myself, what is my goal? What is my goal is to be stronger. That's my goal for this year, is to be stronger. So it's, it can't be taken, going only like twice. You gotta be consistent. You gotta keep going.
She must have been in my closet, because that was me this past week. The snow, for those, we're over here on the East Coast. And so the snow has hit us in these past couple of weeks. Right now we're in January 2024, the end of January, if you're watching this on a replay later. But yeah, the rain is like, I'm not liking it, and not going to the gym. And I remind myself, girl, you paid for this. Like,
exactly.
First of all, that's what motivates me. Like, whatever you need to get you to motivate yourself to like do something is one. If I done paid for something, I'm gonna utilize the service now. So that was one. But then also, like you were saying, just going back to the goal, I think the key thing for me, and often what I recommend to others, is remembering your why. Like, why did you start this in the first place? Like, when you're feeling burnt out, when you're feeling exhausted, when you're feeling defeated or discouraged about it, because maybe it's not going as fast as you anticipated, or things aren't going as well, or you messed up, like whether it's like trying to eat healthy or doing a workout regimen or whatever it is, and you were good for like the first week, and then the second week you fell off. It's like reminding yourself, why did I do this in the first place, and using that to help you keep going.
Yeah. And for me, just in regards to just the business, and in the morning, because again, I remind myself, like, this is also me time. This is my time. Everyone's still sleeping, my husband's, and I definitely always want to set a time for myself every week. So
and even just thinking, I was just thinking about this earlier today, in the sense of like us starting this business, and it's like, even with your girls, it's like, this could be something that could be a legacy for your girls, right? They might take over the business. Who knows? Like, they might end up like, depending on how long we're in this, like, they end up maybe working for Fight for Her and helping us, run the business and whatnot. And it ends up being a legacy, even if they don't even want the business, they want to join this business. It's still a legacy where they see what you're doing, right? And so for me, I have, 2 nieces and 2 nephews, and for me, like that's what I as a lot of my motivation is, like having them see like how you can really start from scratch and do things, right? I know for me that was something. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather has been an entrepreneur, Black owned business, owning his own buildings. Like, those are things that just like my grandmother, a college educated female, like those are things for the Black community. It's like not every family can say they have that based on the systemic racism that happens in this world. And so we're limited. So when you have those those legacies, it really helps you to recognize your why and motivate you. Like, wait, I can do that too. So I think for me, like recognizing that as a why too, like because starting a business is a lot of ups and downs. It's a
Yeah.
lot of ups and downs. And so what pushes me is remembering, like, God put this on my heart. This was not this is not my idea. This was God's idea. And so if he's telling me this is what you're supposed to be doing, then I know it's going to be good, because he's going to help me along the way. And the amount of people that's going to impact and serve is just as important as well. So yeah.
And also, for me, since I'm a mom, my little people look up to me. They know. They, my daughter right before I was like, all right, I'm going downstairs. She's like, oh wait, you're working today? I'm like, yeah, I'm working. She's like, oh, you're doing your workout? Like, she just knows. And they see that. So it's kind of keeping that momentum going, because then she sees like, wow, mommy, this is what she does, and she's going to keep following through with it, because they honestly pick up every little thing that you do. So, and just kind of using that also as my motivation to stay consistent. Like, you know what? I can't go, because my daughter would be like, so what happened to that? Not going downstairs anymore? Like, what's going on?
Hey, could be holding you accountable a lot of times.
She does. She does. So, that's kind of like my walk. I don't want to answer like, oh, well, no. Mom, and I always tell her too. I'm like, if we're even like we start like soccer or whatever, sometimes she's very shy, so she'll start something and she's like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, no. A, I pay for this. That's one. Second, we're gonna follow this through. You in 6 weeks, you're gonna go from start to finish. If by the end of 6 weeks you decide not to do it, that's fine. There's a time limitation here, but we're gonna follow through, because when we set a goal that we want to play soccer, this is what we're gonna see it through. And then we make a decision. But I always try to tell my girls that, like, we're not giving it up. We're not gonna be one of those. You're gonna see it through.
I think that's such a key point, even with the consistency piece, right? Because it's like, you have to be consistent in order to see it all through, right? If you're not consistent, then you don't know what's going to happen, right? True, and then, like we said, those fearful thoughts will say, well, what if it fails? Or what if it doesn't work out? Or what if it ends up being too much? Well, you won't know until you follow it through.
Exactly.
Right? But what if it isn't? Right? What if it's success? What if it's bigger than you even thought of in a good way? Like, what if it is you have good problems, right? About the outcome of things, right? What if you end up enjoying it way more than you anticipated? What if you end up finding more about yourself on this journey, skills you didn't even know you had? I know for me, when I started my business, I found out skills about myself I didn't even know I had, or even looked at them as gifts. I just was like, oh, I'm organized. And then I realized how much of a skill that is that's helping me, or being creative. I remember you would always say to me when we would create the activities for our groups. You're like, girl, how you think of that? I'm like, I don't know, I just and I never thought of you. You always say, oh, you're more creative than me, so you can think with that. And I'm like, I just read a book or something. Like, I would always downplay it, like it's not no big deal.
You always would,
But until I started my business and I created my own website and been doing graphics for my Instagram, my social media pages. And I realized, like, girl, you really are creative. Like, the average person doesn't do that. But it wasn't until I followed things through and stay consistent where I was able to find skill sets about me that I didn't even know I had. So I think that's a good drop the mic right there.
So, ladies, thank you so much. Oh, ladies and gents, whoever's watching, sorry. Thank you guys so much for watching us. Definitely do not forget to subscribe to our Fight for Her channel. This is one of our Her Talks. We are also on Instagram and TikTok, Fight for H.E.R. So hope to see you guys.
Yes. And if you want to know more about us or want to work with us, we do have Her 360, which is at-home live workout. We also have Her Sessions, which are wellness coaching sessions. And we also have the Her Party, which is an event that you can have at your home or at your corporations that incorporates the Her 360 and a group coaching session called Her Talk. So we can bring the Her Talks to you to talk about different topics and using our expertise to help you work through any of those different problem areas. And so if you want to know more about that, make sure you check the description below to learn how you can get access to any of those services. And until we see you again, stay tuned for another Her Talk.